Now we're ready to set up our keyframes to do our basic car animation. So you can quickly check that our render and camera works and set up more environment, lights and buildings in our area just to test out how this will look once it's all been rendered. Then next we select the car rig and go into pose mode, and we select the blue root sensor, and we're going to press I and keyframe it on the location, rotation and scale, so that no matter how the car rotates on this frame here on number 1, it'll always be locked in that frame, in that position. And we can see the end of the frame is 250, so we'll go there and move the car there and press I again to set the keyframe. Now when we move back to keyframe 1 and 250, the car shifts back and forth. Now when you play your animation, when you hit the play bar or space bar, the car will animate on its own like so, which is looking pretty good. But now we want to do a few more things. So first we can add another camera that will start recording at a different angle. You'll notice the first camera is got a black triangle, which means that's the primary camera. So even if you select the other camera and press 0, you won't be able to view through it. So we have to go to the keyframe pad here and add a marker, or you can press M, and then go back to the keyframe pad and press Ctrl B to bind the camera to the marker. And then say around frame 110 you want to switch cameras, you add another marker and bind that camera to the keyframe. Now the second camera has a black triangle, and now that will be the primary camera for rendering. And we can also parent that as well to the car so it moves with the car automatically during animation. We also have to set the keyframe to where it is, and then we can say go to 220 on the frames and set a new keyframe so that the camera will zoom, pan around the car during the time frame. And then if it zooms out automatically, you can readjust it and set a new keyframe in between so the algorithm readjusts the camera angles. And I just added an extra keyframe at the end just to pan slightly at the end of the animation. So you can do similar things. Then next we're ready to render. So we've got all our things in place. We gotta add in a new workspace and go to video editing. Next we have to scroll down and make sure we're in the right folder. So save it to a folder that you'll be able to access easily. And once you press accept, it'll send all the images into that folder. So it's in PNG, make sure it's on overwrite. So if Blender ever crashes during render, you can start from the last frame that you left off. Now click render and render animation to get the PNG render started. Might take a while, but here we're done at 250. So now we've got to go scroll back down and change the PNG to MPEG video, the container to MPEG 4, and we can leave everything else and set the quality to perceptually lossless. Audio is optional, and the frames here match. Next we have to add in the image sequence, all the images in the frame rate. Press A to select all, and then add the image scenes. Now we have everything. We can re-render with the new setup. So hit the same render animation button and let that go through till it's finished. So here we're finished, 250 frame. Now we can check the file which we created and test out our basic animation. There you go, that's looking pretty good. I'll say that's a job well done. So now you know how to animate in the basic steps. So briefly, I'll just explain that you could add in more frames at the end so it slows down the camera shot. So all you have to do is just delete the PNG first and then just add in more keyframes at the end, or just leave it as it is and set the new frame ending scene to something like 276 or whichever, like so. That'll make sure your render doesn't end so quickly. But there you go, that's how you animate. Good job for getting this far. In the next lesson, we're going to do the advanced car animation. You want to take what you learned here and add a bit more depth to your final design.